Welcome to Super Maxi, where today I'm going to be talking about my Dragon Ball Z timeline theory. We begin with timeline 1. Timeline 1 is the same as the show up till age 764, where Goku kills Frieza, and then Goku dies in age 766. In age 767, the androids appear, and in age 780, the manga version of the history of Trunks happens. After this, Trunks goes back to a timeline we never saw, which I'll call the manga unseen timeline. He finds a way to defeat the androids, comes back, defeats the androids, and then Cell kills this version of Trunks and goes back using his time machine to the past. So this unseen timeline is what I call timeline 3. The first one was timeline 1, now we are on timeline 3. Timeline 3 has the same up as the show up to age 767, where there is no Cell, so they find a way to defeat the androids, and then we don't really know what happens after that, because we can't tell what would happen because Goku didn't die and a lot of things didn't happen. Then we have timeline 5, which is similar to timeline 1, also having the manga history of Trunks, but this Trunks kills his Cell, because this is the Trunks who appeared in the main manga, which is the next timeline, timeline 7. Then we go to timeline 2. In the manga version of the Goku Black Arc, they say that in Universe 12 there were people who created a time machine. So I'll say that was divided and that both of them were destroyed after it was found out. Let's go to timeline 2. This one has similar events to the show up till age 764. Goku will be the one to kill Frieza. Nothing happens in age 765. Age 766, Goku dies. Age 767, androids appear. Age 780, Gohan dies. And this one has the Ghost of Tomorrow or History of Trunks version, meaning this one isn't the one from the History of Trunks special. This Trunks happens to be from where the Ghost from Tomorrow is the history he has. I think it was episode 164 of the Funimation dub, where we see Ghost of Tomorrow. That episode is this version of Trunks' history. After that, he goes back in time in age 85, and then after finding a way to defeat the androids the same year, Cell knocks him out, Cell thinks he killed him, but in this one, he knocked him out, and then Cell goes back in time, and now, after that, Trunks wakes up, and they have to find a way to build a new time machine. After finishing it in age 791, he goes back to the next timeline we will talk about. After Trunks returns, Trunks is able to defeat Boo, and this Trunks lives happily ever after, most likely, cause let's head on to the next timeline to show why. Timeline 4, the anime unseen timeline. This timeline starts similar, and then in age 764, Trunks kills Frieza. Goku lives in age 766. He doesn't die. Trunks helps the Z Fighters. The Z Fighters defeat Android 17 and 18, and Trunks returns to his future. But the next year, age 786, Trunks comes back because he thought his Cell had came here. But because of shenanigans, because Cell was traveling back to age 763, and then Trunks was traveling to age 764. So now, because of both of them meeting at a certain point before diverging, there are two Cells. So his Cell a duplicate of his Cell does come to this timeline. They kill him. Goku dies in the fight. Trunks goes back to the future, and then the Boo saga happens. Yes, Dragon Ball Super can happen here also, and maybe because of their added strength slightly, because Goku did live one extra year, meaning it would snowball to him being a little bit stronger. Maybe they find a way to defeat Goku Black without the timeline 2 being erased. But after the Buu saga, we don't really know what would most likely happen for the Goku Black. Maybe the timeline is erased, maybe it's not. But let's continue on. Timeline 6 is the same as timeline 2 to a certain point, but this one is where the anime version of the history of Trunks takes place. This is the Trunks who went through the history of Trunks special. So after that, in age 788, he kills Cell, and then a few years later he kills Bobby, and he did go back in time, and he went back in time to timeline 8, the main show's timeline, where all the events we see in the shows happen. So that is my timeline theory. And I do want to add a section. If you're questioning if timeline 4 might be for GT, it's not, because in GT they seem to know a perfect Cell, which couldn't have happened in timeline 4 because they defeated the androids, most likely killing them, because there's no way they could have befriended them, because they wouldn't be a 16, because the unseen timeline is closer to timeline 2 because it's a direct cause. Timeline 8 is close to timeline 6, sort of way, but because timeline 6 is a copy of timeline 2, an imperfect copy, so because of its the original timeline for its line having a Trunks who's still alive and time traveled to the same point, making this copy, that's the duplicated Trunks we got after Cell's time travel. It's getting confusing. I know some of you will ask, why didn't this happen in the manga 1-2? And that's because Cell killed Trunks there. So the time machine that was recreated couldn't have feedback to create a duplicate, because Trunks wouldn't have been able to make a secondary time machine in timeline 1 because he was dead after Cell killed him. So now timeline 8 didn't happen the same as timeline 4, because this is timeline 6, which created timeline 8, is an imperfect duplicate caused by feedback of 3 time machines nearly moving to a very close section of time. That might sound complicated because it is. So no, timeline 4 does not lead to GT, and timeline 8 can lead to GT, Super, or Daima, but that's for the next part for me to explain in the next part. This is Super Max Z heading out.